Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having a great ending to your Sunday and your weekend. And I appreciate you folks joining me on this fine Sunday evening we're having out here. Got you an update on quite a few things, a couple little small topics that we're going to talk about that's going to break down what's to come over the last week of April, which is right in front of us, and then maybe the first week of May. There's a couple things to discuss, nothing alarming or life-threatening or anything like that, but just a couple areas that I'm watching, one being what's right here in front of us, which is this geomagnetic storm that you're starting to hear a lot about over the last, I would say, 12 hours. And that's a fancy term for the northern lights, which are it's possible that you could see them as far south as maybe areas of the Mid-South, maybe northern Alabama, the southern Appalachian Mountains. But certainly once you get into like the Great Lakes region, the upper Midwest, even areas of the Northeast, I think you stand a pretty decent shot to see the northern lights. So it's going to be pretty crazy, and we'll talk about that very briefly. I don't pretend to be an expert on space weather, so please don't come to me thinking that you're going to get any valuable information. I know the very basics on it and kind of how it works. So we'll briefly mention that here in a second. That'll be the first topic of the video. Then we'll discuss how chilly it can get tonight and how cold some areas could potentially wake up to, what the temperatures could potentially be as you wake up for your Monday morning, which I think will be quite chilly for a large portion of the country. And then we're going to discuss some severe weather risk and also talk about the potential for maybe not one but two storm systems I'm watching towards the end of the week into this weekend. And then we'll kind of give you an outlook on how the first week of May potentially can unfold. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. I want to quickly mention I have not had a chance to answer the comments from this morning's video. It's been very busy. Spring weekends are a very, very busy time for me and my family as I'm trying to prep my yard for summer, things like that. I know a lot of people who do a lot of work in the yard definitely understand that. And, just volunteering with soccer. A lot of people ask me what happened with my soccer game yesterday morning. We did lose, but we played a very good team, and they had a lot of fun. And we're just gonna try to win the next one. But like many have said, this is a fundamental level, and I feel like they've really improved, and they're having fun doing it. So that's all that matters. So that's for anybody who was wondering about that. But let's get rolling. So I'm showing you the satellite visibility out here because of what I'm about to show you here on the next panel. So I want you to focus on the people who, you don't see clouds. This isn't water vapor. These are clouds, okay? This is where there's cloud cover over. You got some clouds that are socked over the entire state of Louisiana, most of Mississippi, moving into Alabama, North Georgia, the southern Appalachian Mountains, and then you got some high clouds over the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest, the Northeast. And then, you're pretty clear over portions of like southern Georgia, the low country of South Carolina, the eastern Carolinas. Anybody that's clear up here, you're probably going to see the northern lights. If you don't know what the northern lights are, just throw it in Google really quick and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a pretty intense geomagnetic storm that is going to have a chance to be visible right after the sun sets. And we'll look at this, and like I said, I'm not going to go deep into this because I don't pretend to be an expert at this, but it goes G1 through G5. And right now, it's forecast to be a G4 storm. It is a G4 storm. It's happening right now. It's just, it's daylight outside. You can't really see what's going on. There's going to be a chance that we have some issues with some power grids, like some flickering of some lights in certain areas, especially further to the north. So, this kind of happened back in March also. But in a G4 storm, it is possible that, look down here, you can see the aurora as far south as Alabama, maybe Northern California. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting how this unfolds. I'm gonna get on my roof just for the heck of it because I got a clear view of kind of the northern skyline horizon. I'm gonna do it just for the heck of it, just to say I did. It's just to say I tried. But I would say if you're for the areas further south, if you're like in the higher elevations and you got a good view to the northern horizon, or if you're like in the Outer Banks or something, near the coast, and you got a really good just view of the northern horizon, then you might see some coloring way off in the distance. So definitely check that out. I'm not sure if a lot of people have heard about this. It really has become a really big deal over the last several hours, honestly, because it's such a changing situation. But let's talk about the cold temperatures. The purple that you see here, that is freeze warnings. The blue that you see, that is frost advisories, okay? So you're probably going to get frost in Tennessee, maybe even some northern counties of Alabama and Mississippi, okay? Northern Arkansas also. So please protect any sensitive plants. I really think this will be a fleeting event. We're just that time of the year, almost in May, where you don't get a lot of cold weather. But temperatures tomorrow morning, per the National Weather Service, you're waking up to some areas in the Cumberland Plateau will certainly see sub-freezing temperatures for a couple hours, but widespread 30s for the end. There will be some upper 20s too. 30s for the entire state of Tennessee, Kentucky for sure, northern Arkansas, and the southern Appalachian Mountains. But I really think the far deep south, I think are saved. I think you'll just wake up to a chilly morning in the 40s. But once you get further north, the entire Midwest, most of the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes region will get below freezing at least for a few hours. It's certainly likely. So, but you get into Tuesday, it starts to moderate, it starts to warm up. Still chilly conditions across the Ohio Valley, portions of the Mid-Atlantic. But by the time you get into Wednesday morning, it's still chilly up here. I think it's just going to be a week, your last week of April. I think we'll have some pretty chilly mornings. You'll need a light jacket, even areas pretty far south, like in the deep south states of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana. You'll probably wake up, unless you're right around the coastal regions, you'll probably need a light jacket throughout the entire week. I mean, you get into Thursday, still hanging with, sub 50 degree temperatures, low temperatures, and in the morning, still pretty cold up here in Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois, points north. So, and then it starts to moderate some. And then we'll watch another cold shot the last couple days of April, which could be affiliated with a storm system. As far as severe weather, guys, we'll watch some severe weather down here in South Florida, central to South Florida, where this trough cold front has not really cleared, so you can still have the ingredients for some severe weather. So we'll watch this. You guys have been fully used to some nasty weather over the last several days down here in Florida. I think tomorrow might be another day. There's not much of a tornado threat, but there is definitely not a non-zero tornado threat. But wind, 5%, hail, 5% threat down here. So be aware if you're vacationing down in Florida. But I do think severe weather will be on the uptick for our Tuesday in Texas, maybe even southern Oklahoma, areas of Louisiana. There's a slight risk of severe weather. We'll see if this upgrades or changes. But as of right now, damaging winds, large hail tend to be the biggest threat with this. Not much of a tornado threat, but I'm sure there will be a threat. We'll talk more on this when we know more here in the next 24 hours or so. So, looking forward, one thing that I'm noticing, the blue, that's either a trough of low pressure, a cold front troughing, could be a tropical system, but in this case, obviously, it's not. It's just troughing in general. The red, the orange you see, that is a ridge of high pressure. So basically, you either got a storm system where you see blue on the map, or either you have cooler than average temperature. So we're going to get this emotions, the latest Euro. This is just consistent troughing over the eastern U.S. So this means, well, we already showed it. This is why you have colder than average temperatures across the eastern U.S. So you keep this going, you get into Tuesday, you still got it. You get into Wednesday, still troughing, setting up over the northeast. That's why you're consistently dealing with these, sub 40 degree low temperatures in the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, even the areas in the Mid-Atlantic. And then what happens here is we get this little upper trough, this little upper level low that might swing down here, might attach itself somewhere into here. There's a lot going on. And then this is when we can have some kind of storm signal show up. Well, there already is a signal that's there. But what happens here? You got this big digging piece of energy right into here. This might swing in, dig down to the south, and could be a powerful system sometime this weekend for the eastern U.S. But we got to figure out what this is going to do. It looks like it digs down here. And to me, guys, this looks like a typical El Nino pattern. You can tell that we're beginning to switch to El Nino. A lot of people, a lot of things that you're going to see throughout the summer is people are going to hype up the heck out of winter because they're going to say El Nino, El Nino, El Nino. But I want to remind you guys, just because we have an El Nino, that doesn't mean we're going to have this blockbuster winter in the eastern and southeast U.S. Okay, analogs do show that El Nino does favor more winter weather, but that does not mean that's going to happen. So Just keep that in mind. But the southern jet is active, which tells us that you have digging and troughing, which is pushing the southern jet down here, allowing for storm systems to fly over. And if you got cold air nearby, you could have snow. But here I am in late April acting like we're in January trying to break down a winter storm. Just kind of speaking that, I got something in my eye here, just trying to speak as if it looks like we're kind of transitioning to that El Nino, which we kind of already have. But, we get all the way into the first couple days of May, you still have this consistent troughing setting up. So this tells me that we're going to be dealing with below average temperatures in the eastern U.S. all the way through the first few days of May at least. Okay, what you see here is 250 millibar streams. So this is right around where the jet sits. So this is right around where your low pressures are going to ride. So as you can tell, the higher colors down here, that is where it's most active. Okay, we get down here, look how it's just situated to the south. This tells me that you're going to have pieces of energy jolting to the south. And then we get into this weekend where a big system can show up and it really digs right into here. You're going to have some kind of activity. There's that low pressure flying around that 250 millibar jet right here, this low pressure, and then it flies over. I would watch for an interesting storm system sometime this weekend. What does that mean? Severe weather? Does that mean snow? What does it mean? All I can tell you is I think you're going to have a powerful storm system potential for this weekend. We just got to iron out the details of what exactly we see. I think we're sitting here around this time next week dealing with a pretty active storm system. Okay? So what does this look like on the surface as far as precipitation? When we look at the European and we're starting Wednesday, we already got a lot of moisture right over the south central U.S. This is good. We need moisture in the western Texas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. But I can tell you, it looks like once we get into Wednesday, it could get quite, not stormy, but rainy. A lot of rainy conditions across the south. And then we just got storm system after storm system. Look at this low pressure digging all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, guys. It really tells you that the jet is buckling pretty good. We get into Friday afternoon, looks like a pretty large storm system creating soaking rains across the southeast and the eastern U.S. And then another system immediately behind it. There might be like a 24-hour break, but another system flies in here and delivers another mess. Is this severe weather? Is this some late season snow? What is this? But this looks like, you got a sub 990 low pressure, millibar low pressure flying across the Ohio Valley. So this tells me that we're going to have a rainy weekend. Is it going to be severe weather, a cold rain, a warm rain, some storms? What is it going to be? Flooding? It's a big question. But look at this little transition, and this is when it gets interesting. Around this time next week, you got a 978 millibar low pressure right over northeast Pennsylvania into the New York State. This could be a big-time cyclone right over land here. Could be a pretty big system. We just got to figure out what it's going to do. But going forward here, as far as that severe weather event, one of the big things you look for is a big surge of moisture north. So I can tell you, it looks like the higher dew points, which, the higher the dew points, the more storm instability that you have in most cases. You get into Wednesday afternoon, higher dew points are kind of confined to the Gulf coastline. 50s are not going to, and 40s dew points are not going to support severe weather. You get into Thursday, you get a little bit of a spike here in the Mississippi. Louisiana, might be some strong storms that day. We'll watch. And then we'll get into Friday afternoon. This is what I want to watch. Look at this little spike in dew points based off the Euro into Georgia and South Carolina and then the Sandhills of North Carolina. Are we going to have some severe weather in this region right here? It's a big question. I'm just going to drop a random sounding here. And none. But who knows? That sounding might be over some rain. I'm not sure. But in general, we will watch for surges of moisture north. It's one of the biggest things you look at when trying to figure out a severe weather event. But, once we get later in the weekend, maybe another surge, and then stable, dry air kind of crashes in. And all the way to the Gulf Coast into the first couple days in May. So it kind of stabilizes the atmosphere. But rainfall, we're all the way into Tuesday afternoon, not a whole lot. But as soon as we get into, let's just go on and take it all the way into this time next week. So this is literally between now and this time next week, next Sunday evening. I do think we're going to get steady rains for everybody in the South. It's just up here to the north. It's a little bit bigger of a question up here, but I think if you're in the South, for areas that kind of got missed on with the rain, I know I did yesterday, you're going to have a chance for more rain. Anybody 1 to 2 inches of rain over the next week from the south central U.S. all the way through the mid-Atlantic and everybody in between. So rains are coming. Find your state, look how much it shows, but this isn't a forecast, it's just a blend of all models trying to just get a good idea that, hey, we're going to be in an active stormy pattern through the first part of May. Speaking of May, this is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook from May 1st through the 7th. Below average temperatures still dominating this outlook. This is a pretty solid chance. It's about a 50 to 60% chance of below average temperatures for the first pretty much week of May. So, for you folks, even in the South, and it's taking a while for your pools to heat up, this week right ahead of us ain't going to help, but I can tell you the week after probably ain't either. So it's certainly, I would enjoy it. This is what spring is supposed to be like. There's been many years here in the South, especially. I know I talk on the South a lot, but I'm biased, guys, because I live here in the South. But there's been a lot of springs where we just never have a spring. There's a lot of falls where we don't have a fall. It just jumps straight to winter. There's a lot of springs where we just go from winter to summer. Well, I don't think this is going to be the case, okay? But you mix that with the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook, and this just screams El Nino pattern to me. With cooler average temperatures troughing, and then the jet to the south. Okay, so we'll try to figure this out, and we'll kind of probably latch on to the weekend storm here in the next couple days when we know more about it. But I think this weekend could be an interesting storm system or two. So that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great night.